it's Andy.
Hi, it's Dave.
Hi, it's Kirk.
We're here at Club 85 and we are joined by Cassie, who is the assistant manager, stage manager, and a bit of everything. Whatever needs to be done. So welcome to the channel. We wanted to get your viewpoint on one of the biggest issues that's happening within the industry at the moment, which is live music and people not attending. So we've just lost another venue in the Hertfordshire area. So the Rock Den has now decided not to do music this year, just due to poor attendance.
I've only heard about that today.
Yes, literally this morning I found out about that. So that's another one of locations where bands from the Hertfordshire area used to play. So we've now literally got the Horn.
Well, don't forget the Red Lion started to play next year.
Red Lion as well last year. It went as well.
Jordan Allard and his promotion company, they just stopped it.
One of the biggest things I'm hearing from lots of people on the Facebook pages, which is venues are not getting enough people through the doors or not enough pre-sales. So pre-sales will be a thing because we don't get to see the pre-sales really from our side of it. When we come to gigs, we just sometimes buy our tickets in advance, sometimes we just turn up. But for an average gig that comes through a door, what would you say like a pre-sale is versus? You don't need to give me your full numbers, but pre-sales, would you be talking like 10 tickets?
It entirely depends what genre we're thinking about or what type of night. If it's a metal night, unfortunately, pre-sales, I'll say unfortunately, pre-sales on a metal night are next to non-existent.
Right.
But that's because the local metalers like to support the club by paying on the door. They know that ticketing side takes 10% or so there's transaction fees and all that sort of stuff. So quite a lot of the local metalers know that it actually helps us just paying cash on the door. So it's quite hard for us to come and get a rough estimate of how many is going to extend on the night there. But other nights, D&B nights for example, that you can judge how many is going to turn up by ticket sales. If you've got 200 ticket sales for a D&B night, you can guarantee you're maybe going to get 10 people, 20 people walk up on the door, but the majority of that's going to be pre-sales. So it is entirely dependent on
style and the genre.
Yeah, the style, the genre of the night, and generally what that scene are used to.
So we all go to gigs, playing bands and stuff like that as well. So I know I bought maybe 6 or 7 concert tickets last year on pre-sale, and I did a couple on the door where I just did walk-ups, but I hardly ever did because I find that I drive everywhere to go somewhere, so I have to make that decision in advance.
Yeah.
It's not something I'm going to do locally, but what makes you guys decide whether or not you're going to go to, I guess?
I mean, I don't venture down to London for the big shows. I'm purely local shows.
Yeah.
During the pandemic, you really didn't have a choice. Or sort of following the pandemic, when venues were opening up again, and you know our hospitality industry was coming back, it was really the only option. Because they were limited numbers here when the Cassie, some shows. But I don't usually pre-book now, unless it's one of the bigger names that come to this venue and others, because I know I'm going to get in. And also, a factor for me is when you add the admin fee at the time it takes to log on and sort of sign into your account and everything, you're not really saving a hell of a lot of money unless you're perhaps buying 4 tickets. But if it's just myself and my partner, we're not saving much if it's just 2 tickets. And you've also got that flexibility of not coming if you decide not to, or circumstances dictate that you're not going to be able to make it. Whereas if you've pre-booked your ticket, you're kind of obliged to go because you're going to probably lose out. I mean, I can't remember exactly which show it was, but I didn't pass on the ticket. I just left it. I couldn't attend.
That's something I have noticed. So I know going to the Rock Den had 45 tickets on pre-sale sold, but only 20 of them were actually redeemed by people that turned up. So they had 25 tickets that had been sold that people just didn't turn up for.
What was that? It was
just a normal gig. was played there, which was really strange. But I guess from a venue point of view, pre-sales do have one benefit.
Yeah.
You then know at least you've got that money coming in, and even if they don't turn up, you've at least, because if you've got a band coming in and you're thinking you've got bar staff, stage, sound guy, lighting, all got to be paid, door staff got to be paid.
There's a lot of overhead.
And you've got 5 pre-sales, and we've seen that gigs have been cancelled because of that, because you can't guarantee.
Yeah.
And there is a massive risk. So why do we think that people aren't doing pre-sales then? Anyone got any good ideas of why people don't do pre-sales?
Flexibility. If it's a big name, you don't have a choice. Like, for example, when I went to watch The Cure at Wembley 2 weeks ago, you've got to buy the ticket in advance.
Yeah.
We're talking about local bands here, aren't we? Some of them are legends, don't get me wrong, in the scene. I'm going to echo what Andy said. I don't want to be committed, and I'll give you an example. January, it goes dark at 4 o'clock, it's often raining and windy now. There are going to be times you look out the window and you think, is it worth getting on the train to go to Hitchin, which is very easy because I live in Stevenage, but it's still enough to put you off, so I don't like being tied into it. Can I just move back to something you said that's ironic? So that when it's a metal gig, people are conscious, we want to help the venue, we want to pay on the day, but that doesn't help you with projections, does it either? That drum and bass event you're talking about, you clearly prefer that scenario, surely. 200 pre-sales.
We actually don't here at Club 85.
Oh, where's that?
Because we're all about live music.
Right.
That's D&B nights are not one that staff enjoy. Our thing is it's all about supporting live bands.
Right.
It's the local community as much as possible. D&B nights, they basically fund me to do that. So we put on a D&B night a month. We know that money's coming in. So that's why we accept those. But for many years, Club 85 completely refused to have anything to do with DJs. It's only the last few years or so that we've actually been doing DJs.
And another point I was going to raise regarding sort of connections and how many people might be coming. Do you ever look at, the Facebook events, going, interested?
Yeah.
Do you ever look at perhaps, 100 people say they're going compared to actually how many people actually turn up? Is there a sort of correlation between those sort of, that data?
We used to. Now, that data did used to mean something, but
People just go.
maybe 5 years ago, now it doesn't really make a difference, especially with Facebook's new model. It's just not really friendly for businesses to use at all. It's about the time.
I just wondered if, how those figures compare. If you actually look at them and say, 100 people said they're coming,
It does.
and 80k, that's not too bad.
Yeah.
Or whether it's so way out that, as you know, people just say, I'm going to that.
To make the person feel better, probably.
Well,
by saying that
hundreds,
you're
yeah.
going to a gig on Facebook, if you say you're going to an event, it pops up on all your friends' timelines that you're going to that event. So it does actually help to say that you're going, because you're actually helping the promotion, whereas where we would probably end up having to pay Facebook for that.
So there's a benefit there.
Supporters by saying they're going to an event page.
Can I, obviously the other thing we need to talk about is pricing, isn't it? Look at the economy, what is inflation, 11%? Interest rates are only going to go up, mortgage interest payments, rents.
I think that is a massive reason why there's been a bit of a drop off in attendance recently.
I'm going to push back on all of that.
Interesting. Go on.
So, how many albums did you buy last year? Physical albums did you buy? CDs?
not anywhere near as many as I.
Give us a number.
Pick a random, 5, 10, 20.
Less than 20, I'd
Less
say.
than 20, you?
Yeah, about 20 CDs. I don't buy vinyl.
I didn't buy any. I bought a few downloads, digital downloads, because I buy digitals. I have no idea what that. Oh, that's Bluetooth. Okay. I bought digital downloads, but go back 10 years ago. How many CDs would you buy in a year?
Get off 100.
100?
Yeah.
2013, probably about, probably 40.
In the 2010s, so you're, as a gig goer, you would go out and you would buy a CD. You would spend 10 quid, whatever it was at the time. You would buy 100 of those. You spent, so straight away, you've got a substantial outcome.
Yeah.
Now you're using Spotify, which you are paying $6.99, whatever the cost is per month.
Yeah.
So gig goers have actually got a financial saving on their music. They've got more access to more music and they're not spending anything. And yet they're saying they haven't got the money to go to a gig.
How expensive is the bar?
Here's a push. That's my push out to you.
When you go to a
Actually, you're
gig,
saving money on music.
no, that's a good point. But when you go to a gig, if you're partial to a drink and you've not driven here, you go on the train, you have a few drinks, you are going to burn through £20 almost just on 3 pints. So it's not just the price on the door, is it?
So inflation has gone up for that element. So there is an element there that I still think music. So bands could rely on two things historically: your album sales and your merchandise was your big thing. Gigs, you could never really, as a small band, you were never going to make money from live gigs. You still couldn't, unless you were a reasonable sized draw. You were always going to be you weren't. Well, you used to. I had to do the old pay to play in the old days, but.
Yeah.
And still said some of those bands still have to do that nowadays, but you're not going to make your money now. But now you've lost out because of things like Spotify. You're not making money even on your CDs anymore. So what we're now finding, and what I'm seeing specifically within the scene, is bands playing way too many gigs in such a small area because they're obsessed with the gigging.
Yeah.
So what you've now got is bands playing 3 or 4 gigs in the same county, so Hertfordshire area, in a month.
Do you see that?
Do.
Yeah.
And so why would you? So then we get this issue which you guys have raised. Say I don't buy pre-sales because I want the flexibility just in case. And then what you think is, well, I won't see this one. I'll catch you in your next gig in a couple of weeks' time.
Yeah.
And that's what I think.
That's
killing
it.
ideas.
I mean, there wasn't many metal gigs here. Before the pandemic, that I didn't come to.
Yeah.
There would be at least one band I wanted to see. I'd get to know and enjoy and experience new bands. And I'd walk over to there
Yeah.
and I'd buy a t-shirt and a CD and a patch. Take some cars. And then I'd see the next band, oh, I fucking hell, I like these guys as well. Go get their stuff. I don't buy anywhere near as much merch. I mean, that is mainly from the financial element.
Yeah.
It's also down to the fact that the music is so accessible now. I'm quite new to Spotify. I know YouTube has always been there, but I never used to listen to music on YouTube as such. I'd much prefer to have the physical copies. But now I find myself, even bands I'm big fans of, I'm not rushing out to buy their CDs. I'm listening to the old phone, in the car, in the van, or whatever. So everything about being a metal fan or a music fan in general has changed in recent years.
I guess
it's a real shame.
If you're passionate about it, this goes back to what you're saying. If you're passionate about it and you've got to tighten your belt, you are going to make savings in other areas, aren't you? And still come to the gig.
You are.
And still invest in
your
favourite bands.
The problem you've got is and we can pick on multiple bands in our region that we've seen throughout the year who have played Club 85 multiple times this year. And the question would be is, if they'd actually played here maybe once at the beginning of the year and once again near the end, you probably would have checked them out both times. But when you see a bill and you're like, oh, it's that band I will support again and that band I will support.
You kind of think they'll be here in a month.
I'll see them again in a month's time, and you don't go because now that could mean that we need more bands to come out because we actually need more bands on the scene so that we don't have the same bands filling up the bill all the time. But we also need bands to focus maybe on not playing all constantly in the same area and to travel for a field. But the problem is they haven't got a following because they're not working on their online process. Now we know from doing the A.D.K channel that having an online, just having a channel doesn't do you anything. You have to put work in.
Yeah.
I don't see enough bands actually doing that piece of legwork. Their idea is, I've got a song on Spotify, please check it out. That's their idea of, it's not doing enough.
Bands actually sharing their event pages as well.
Yeah.
There's not enough bands that actually share their event pages and put out enough posts about their gigs. They're putting releases out, maybe some funny memes or something for crowd engagement, just to boost their posts, but they're not promoting their actual gigs. I'm finding
Because the other thing we've mentioned, we talked about some of the videos we talked about, like the band. The last band we checked out today was the Gazette. We said like just the name of the Gazette would be made you not check it out. How many?
If I saw that on a post, on a an event.
Japanese band.
Yeah,
But
they were really good, but I wouldn't be drawn to that
no.
on a Facebook event or
Hang
a
on.
poster outside.
Are they metal?
Yeah,
I would have
Very
assumed
much.
they were metal.
They sound like an indie band.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I was
yeah.
just about to say, I would have thought
Well, have you heard of a band called the Tony Danza Tap Dance Extravaganza? They're a prop
I'm gonna
metal
pick on
band.
this.
That you would not listen to them.
Okay. So although this is not our sort of style of music, we have a little poster here, but this is kind of another example of sort of things I talk about when we talk about
They are
flyers.
a very successful band that sell out every time.
Who's Dub Pistols?
Oh, look at that stereo
Right,
MCs.
yeah, and I know the band already on that one, but what's the flyer telling you? And how many bands, when you see a band's flyers, some of the band's flyers I've seen are bloody awful. I've seen where they haven't even bothered, when they get the logo and they've got a black box and they just stick it on without actually removing the black box from around the
Yeah, you know
logos.
it's
Come on! Got to put the work in, guys!
Stereo MCs, they did that song. Gotta get myself connected.
Yeah.
Wow, they're playing here.
They're playing
Everything's
So,
on the
run back. So lots of flyers I see, they don't tell you anything about the band, they don't give you any interest. There's a lot of bands doing this pose. Yeah, that's great. Well,
Serious
what?
ones.
None of these pictures, none of these images tell you about that. Bands are not doing enough work to get people interested. You've got very few opportunities to have someone look at your picture and go, I want to check out more about.
You know
Some
what?
bands do it really well.
Raised by Now is probably a good example
Right.
for me. Because I've never heard of them, would have never been interested in looking up or anything based on their name or their music. I just heard that as noise to start with, nothing like that. Then I saw one of their comedy sketches.
absolutely right, Cassie. Yeah.
Pops up on my Facebook all the time now, and I'm actually into it. Seeing them several times now.
Yeah.
That sort of promotion tactic works.
Gotta do something
You
along that.
need more than just a stereo pose.
So it's interesting what you're saying, Dave. So the artists aren't doing enough. And let's look at the modern artists, right? You mentioned Spotify. If you want to make money, you need to own the publishing rights to your music. So really, you don't want to be on a record label because you're not going to get a good deal with any record company. So you're not just a musician these days. You've got to do everything. You've got to be the media producer. You've got to be a songwriter, a musician, a recording artist. You've got to be able to promote your art.
And you've got to distribute your own music.
That's it, and you will see the benefits of that. If you can actually accelerate your growth and pick up your Spotify listeners and the 30%, the 70% roads that go to artist and label, well, that's just going to go to you, isn't it, to divide amongst the band. So if you're going to take that route where it makes sense to not be on a record label, then you've got to put all the work in, haven't you? You've got to be promotion, A&R, distribution, everything.
So
Not enough bands are doing that.
Not
to
enough
help
bands doing
themselves,
that.
that's
I
what I'm
also
saying.
think that there is this, there's an acceptance now that things like Deezer and Spotify are the only opportunity, options you have.
Yeah.
And I understand that people, because so many people use it, you need to have some sort of presence on it. But I think so many people are now just throwing everything on there. And the idea of thinking, oh, we've seen bands that have got 500,000 views on there or streams on there, and they've made £1,000, and you go, if you'd actually converted that into album sales,
Yeah.
now you might say, oh well, I've got bigger reach, but none of those people are coming to your bloody gigs. So I'm still seeing bands. I'm going to raise a band that's played here, a great band, Kane. We talked about Kane on the channel before. So they did 650,000 streams of celebrating it across all formats and stuff like that. Brilliant, but have made no real money. And yet they travelled up to Wakefield, I think it was, Wolverhampton to play a gig, which was going to be their big metal night, and they were going to play a 3-hour set. They played to 5 people.
Did they finish the set?
They did. They went on. They played, but that's the challenge. Is that if you're doing 10 years of being in a band and you're putting all these albums out and you're still going up and playing to 5 people as your big show, something's not right in your model. You're not doing something yourself. Now there is an element I would suggest about maybe venues. What can venues do? because venues have an element of that, and promoters have an element as well.
Oh,
So bands have got to do more, definitely got to do more. You can't just put a poster up and expect people to turn up. And I have seen people comment on Facebook going, venues got to do more, promoters got to do more, but I haven't seen that band themselves actually do it. They put all the onus on everyone else to do it. But I still think pre-sales are a way, because at least then you know.
yeah.
There's got to be some way of enticing people to go, do you know what? If I pre-sale, and I think me and you have talked about this briefly on about, you know, like they have the old Starbucks cards.
Yeah.
Buy 5 coffees, get one
Yeah.
free. Why wouldn't they do that? Free buy 5 tickets, get 1 ticket free. Whether that's on one night, you have 6 people coming for the price of 5.
Yeah.
Surely the venue would prefer that and have a full house and have 10 people that got in for free effectively, then have less people.
Yeah.
But also if you did it throughout the year, so people like us that buy gigs regularly, buy a few tickets, next week when we come to collect 5, actually that was, we were sent a promotion code.
Season pass.
Yeah, and you were almost getting a season pass, so you're investing in the venue, you're investing in the bands, but you feel that you're getting a monetary saving by buying more.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure the venue would prefer that, to have, because you're still buying drinks, you're still spending money in the venue.
I'm pretty sure it's pre-COVID. 2019 when the masses would trial the season pass.
I would say credit for that idea. I put it to Mr. Nick Blues, and yeah, it worked really well. Unfortunately, it was a year where we had to abandon it in 2020, but that was for a set fee. You got entrance to all the heats and the 4 quarterfinals.
Yeah.
And I took advantage of that. Not just it was my idea, but I can see that working for everybody involved. Similar to what you've just described, David. To be honest,
It's giving people options, because I mean, if I was online and I was buying it, I had my account assigned into my account for the venue, whether it's, because big places like Ticketmaster are not going to care.
No.
But the local venues that are trying to promote can do something, because they might, if venues look at it on the idea that, but we've given away a free ticket, but that person wasn't coming to you previously anyway.
No.
So now you've got someone through the door who's going to watch your band, give a great atmosphere, and actually spend money at the bar.
So that's the main revenue source, isn't it? It's surely the bar.
Yeah.
That's
It's not on the margin. Margin's not
Here,
formal.
it's not.
Okay.
No.
Well, I mean, you just, am I right in thinking downstairs, bar 85, is that
Bar
more like a
85,
subsidised?
Yeah, so the landlord owns the building, the bar downstairs, and the bar up here. We have the handshake that says we can use the rest of the building, basically.
Okay.
They chuck us 50% of the bar sales, and the rest of the money we make is what comes in on the door.
I mean, anything, if you could see, especially in the pre-sales, if you knew that people were doing pre-sales and you had 50 pre-sales, you would know that at least
You've got 50
you can
people
cover
in drinking.
and you can pay for all the people that you've got that night, rather than worrying going, we've got 10 people walk through the door tonight, and how are we going to pay? We're going to have another night that's going to have to pay for that person.
Yeah.
Someone's going to have to pay for somehow. So there's a balance in that. So that would be my challenge is people aren't buying enough music anyway because they're using streaming, so they should have some form of monetary value that they were spending previously on music. Unless there's something else that I'm missing that they're spending it on instead. Gas. Food, gas, heating. But I think there's that element there. I think bands need to do a hell of a lot more than to promote their brand. I think there's too many bands that just play a gig and don't do enough.
It's just reaching out and keeping up with how the modern world is going, really. As technology evolves, unfortunately, we need to evolve with it and start adapting to new ways of doing things.
Did you guys here ever have the point where if a band booked in to play you, they weren't allowed to play 4 weeks either side in the local area?
We've had promoters that like to use that,
Yeah.
yeah.
Because we used to play that rule and we were like, that's fine, because we used to play London and then we'd come up here. We knew that none of our London people would travel up here, so we were okay with that. We were like, that's fine, we'll play here, play in central London, we'll play South London, because we knew we were not going to impact that sort of thing. But that definitely doesn't seem to be an issue with places like the Horn. I mean, they have the same bands on half the time. Just anyone that wants to go and play, it's fine.
By the way, do you know that idea of restricted access, so that people don't take it for granted. I watched an interview with Misha Mansour from the band Periphery last week, and he was saying, for an album, they only do one tour, and the interview said, why is that? He said, I'll give you an example. Meshuggah, who's his favourite band, when they came through on the Obson tour, it was like, I'll just catch them when they come the second time round. He said, and then they didn't come through town for 3 years. So Periphery consciously do that now, and it's like, why would spend all this money? It made sense in the 90s. If you're Faith No More, they would do 3 UK tours per album, because you'd have singles out, wouldn't you, as well? They were getting the top 40, that much money,
It didn't have the HD internet as big as it is now.
More people come who didn't come to the first one, they're probably going to buy a CD, get some merch. The whole landscape has changed, hasn't it? And if you're still in that mindset, you're going to need all the luck.
It's like one of the bands, Ward 16, so they're from, what to say, I may be wrong, but Ward 16, so Ward 16 were very good for 2022. They set out their entire tour schedule for the year, and I even spoke to them about trying to do another show. They were like, no, that's our tour schedule, and then we're going on to work on another album. That's it. If you want to catch us, these are the dates that we will be playing. And they didn't do any duplications, they didn't play in the same towns. They were like, that's when we're playing. And then when we finish that tour, we're not going to take on any more gigs, we're going to write on the next album. And so people packed out every single one of their shows, because that was your only chance to go and watch them. But they planned all the gigs well in advance, and they did lots of videos, they did music videos, they were doing online promotions, they were doing all their social media sites. They were very active in what they were getting involved in. So
Really well.
they work really well, but I don't see enough bands that are actually taking that ownership. I think a lot of bands think that once you've got the songs written and you can play them cohesively as a unit, then you're ready and you're done, and you can just get on stage and you can put on a show.
Next
God, it work.
building the show, building the name.
The stakes are so much higher now, aren't they? Because we said that, with the decline of physical CD sales and the rise of streaming, artists had to pivot towards relying on income from playing live, didn't they? Especially the mid-tier artists. And if you don't diversify now away from that, if you're just relying on merch sales and touring, then COVID wiped you out, didn't it? It sounds almost shallow saying business model when we're talking about art, but those bands that quickly went to playing online streaming and charging you for that, it was a good idea, wasn't it? But I'm pleased that I'm not a musician, because one, I won't be in it for the money anyway, but
No one is.
you can't be anyway.
You get to spend your money on bloody equipment.
Do you know what, like any issue we've got, we were talking about YouTube, we put a video, I might get 16 views for the whole week. And then when you look at, for a start, it's the most used video platform in the world, so you know there's just so much content. It must be like that if you're a band now, and you've written your album and you just want to go and play shows. Can I ask a question? When did it become the norm, especially in metal, for every show to have a minimum of 4 bands? Because it never used to be like that. Is that a recent phenomenon?
So that you have 20 people.
Is it so? Yeah. So the other 3 bands.
So the other 3 can watch.
Not to my memory.
I don't know. I don't remember going to old gigs.
It used to be when I was doing gigs.
Did it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Seems to be the norm here anyway.
there's
Sometimes
always-
the masses format, 4 bands,
It's
time
what
frame
we've-
works as well with half-hour sets, Cassie, I imagine as well.
It's what we've worked out to kind of be viable, really.
Depends on the headline. If
Yeah.
the headliner wants to be egotistical and play a silly set.
It gives 4 acts, the open doors at 7:45, have it done by 11, it gives everyone enough time to...
It gives new bands a chance, doesn't it, to go down and do a 20-minute set.
Yeah. Which
Most
is
bands don't have more than 30 minutes
something
sets.
actually I'm hoping to do from Elton to actually have a new band with next to many following open for
And not competing, just getting exclusive.
Getting everyone into the set.
Good idea.
That'd be
Just
good.
getting that exposure. But yeah, little more than that way.
Good.
We'll do that on another episode.
Bit of cultural
Okay.
talent.
So let's wrap this one up. So basically what we're saying is bands need to do a hell of a lot more themselves to do some more promotion. Probably playing less in the same areas really helps at giving yourself a bit more exclusivity.
Don't give your product away for free and let
Yeah.
people take you for granted.
And that Ward 16 format, Keep your tour schedule and don't deviate from that.
Once
Sounds
you get
really interesting, yeah.
Set yourself out your gigs through the year. Don't feel desperate. I see so many people who are desperate for gigs in the sense they go, we've got a space in our diary, we need a gig, and they don't care about where they play, they just want a gig, which I think is the same mentality for any band, because if you don't play to anyone, it's depressing. You don't want a gig. I know many times you play to like 5 people, you get off stage and go, why am I doing this? We've just spent an entire day here.
Especially if it's high intensity music. You know, imagine if you're like a grindcore band and it's like, we just want to take any gig and you end up in fucking Leeds or Mansfield at a working men's club and you're on with punk bands.
Yeah.
You're like, oh shit, what's happened here?
So the other thing is for the bands is also to make sure that bands are doing more physical items. I think they should try to move away from. Personally, I think move away from the Spotify format. Use it, but not exclusively.
Yeah.
Have something that is a tangible asset. I think people appreciate it.
There in the background.
A couple of songs out.
How can you convince someone from my niece's generation who's 14 this year to even buy a physical CD and put it into a machine and press play?
Well, that's their parents. It's called good parenting.
No, but you said technology. You're not going to change the way people consume music. It's irreversible.
That's part of the challenge. Yeah. That is,
You've got to then find something about the live show that they need to enjoy. But there's an element as well for the venues as well. The venues have got to do more to entice people to. It's the pre-sales, because pre-sales are key for venues. Although you may make slightly less, if you know that you've got guaranteed income coming through for those pre-sales, you can plan accordingly. And it also means I know that if I've bought a ticket for a gig, it's less likely I'm going to pull out of that and go, I'm not going to attend. Whereas if I haven't bought that ticket and I just feel a bit like, do you know what? I really can't be bothered to drive there tonight. I'm just going to, do you want to get a takeaway instead? And I've done that before. I've not gone to gigs and I'm like, it's a bit crap outside. Whereas if I bought that ticket, I'll be like, bought the ticket, we're going.
That's it, yeah.
So we've got to push the pre-sales in.
Just one more thing, we said merchandising. Surely then you need to loyalty from a fan of a band that used to be, well, the only way you could access the music was buying it on vinyl or CD.
Yeah.
Now, you only hear this amongst deathcore bands, come to a gig, buy a shirt, they are aware. That's replacing the CD. You need to buy a shirt. So, you said the metal crowd in Club 85 are conscious, they want to pay on the door so you can go through a middleman and you get the money. You get the physical cash, and that helps you. More bands, I think you've got to push. Look, we know you're not going to buy music. Buy merchandise.
Yeah.
They've just got to keep pushing that, haven't they?
Yeah, definitely. Got to find cheaper merchandise as well, because they're so bloody expensive to print. Anyway, that's our kind of summary of what we think needs to happen within the industry. But if you like this video, please do like, share, and subscribe. And we'll, of course, see you on another video sometime very soon. Take care.